Our first speaker is Professor Dr. B. Mahadevan, is a Professor of Operations Management at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore since 1992. He was the founding Vice Chancellor of Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth and was also the Dean of IIMB. He is in the board of IIT Madras, Chanakya University and Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth, and also in the International Advisory Board of California Management Review. He received his MTech and PhD from the Industrial Engineering and Management Division of IIT Madras and has more than 30 years of wide-ranging experience in teaching, research, consulting, and academic administration at IIM Bangalore, IIT Delhi, and XLRI Jamshedpur. A recipient of the ICFAI Best Teacher Award by the Association of Indian Management Schools, Professor Mahadevan has published several of his research findings in leading international journals. He has been playing a very significant role in the field of Sanskrit and Samskriti for the past 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Dr. B. Mahadevan.
Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. எல்லோருக்கும் என்னுடைய நமஸ்காரங்கள் முதல்ல. I am very happy to be here in this second global meet. இந்த செஷனோட டைட்டில் ரொம்ப ஒரு விசேஷமான டைட்டில். I find there are two phrases there. Attain goals னு ஒரு phrase இருக்கு. Vedic education. So there are two phrases in this title. So I want to speak a little bit about both of them. Probably that will do some justice for my talk here. So the first question that came to my mind is, what are these goals? First we should know what are the goals, then let us talk about attaining it. So I was thinking about it, and ஒரு பெரிய லிஸ்ட் என்னெல்லாம் கோல் இருக்க முடியும் மனுஷியாளுக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு லிஸ்ட் போட்டேன். ஸோ ஐ ஹவ் நவ் டிவைடட் இட் இன்டு two set of goals. The first set of goals I call it as active goals. ஏன் ஆக்டிவ் கோல்ஸ்ன்னு சொல்கிறேன்னா எல்லாரும் அந்த கோலை தான் பார்த்துன்னு போயின்னு இருக்கா. ஸோ லெட் மீ லிஸ்ட். It can be a very long list, but I will just state a few of them. Because today you go and ask anybody in this country, what is your goal? Because these are very fancy. What is your goal in life? What do you want to achieve? This is a very frequently held conversation. Youngsters, middle age, everybody talks about it. So if you ask what are these active goals, people will say, I want to study in a very good institution, I want to get good degree, good job, நல்ல உத்தியோகத்தில் இருக்கணும், நல்லா படிக்கணும், நல்லா சம்பாதிக்கணும், நல்ல உத்தியோகத்தில் இருக்கணும், security in life. This is another goal people talk about. Happy family, நல்ல life partner, this is another goal. A lot of people also say that this is another goal. I want to be a top professional, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to, create economic value. This is, again, I call it as an active goal because a lot of people are very vocal and very particular about this goal. There are some people who say, I want to be famous, I want to be rich, I want to be powerful. நான் ரொம்ப பிரசித்தமாக இருக்கணும். I have to be very, very well known. I have to be very rich, famous. This is another goal. I think a lot of people seriously go after it, and I think they find their way. There is nothing wrong about it. Then there are some goals about movable and immovable assets. நிறைய நகை வச்சுக்கணும், வீடு வேணும், வாகனம் வேணும், வசதி வேணும். So, there are many more, but I'll stop here. I call all of them as active goals. Why? Because people actively go after it. இதுதான் முக்கியமா நினைச்சிட்டு நம்ம பிரயத்தனங்கள்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். நம்ம லைஃப்ல whatever we want to achieve, we want to try all that. I have nothing wrong about it. I am not saying this is wrong, but I am saying these are very active. Therefore, I call it as active goals. Then I came with another set of goals. I call them as shadow goals. அது ஒரு சாயா மாதிரி. Wherever I go, it will come, but I am not aware of it. திரும்பி பார்த்தா தான் தெரியும். இல்லை sometimes light இங்க இருந்தா முன்னாடி தெரியும். So I found some goals which are there, but I don't think we think about it all the time. Sometimes we think about it. So again, there can be a long list, but I will restrict myself to 4 or 5. Top of the list is good health. The biggest casualty of today's working is losing health. I don't know how many of you actually think about it. India is the diabetic and hypertension capital of the world. India has the largest number of people in the age group of 20 to 30, either having diabetes or hypertension or both. இந்த டெவலப்மெண்ட்டை நினச்சிட்டு என்ன பண்ணணும்னு தெரியல, மாரில் தான் தட்டிக்கணும், என்ன பண்ணணும்னு தெரியல. I do not know what to do with this. But that goal is somewhere at the back. We don't seem to worry about our health. But occasionally, sometimes it suddenly pops up. And then we think that this is an important goal. After that, we forget it. Another goal, taking care of parents and elders. Again, this is becoming a shadow goal. இங்கேருந்து ரொம்ப தூரம் போட்டோம், கோயம்புத்தூர் போனால் போகிறோம், அதுக்கு வசதிகள்லாம் இருக்கு. We don't have to go too far. So I do not know why this goal is not a very active goal. Increasingly, it is slightly going to the background. That is what I mean. It is becoming, according to me, a shadow goal. Once in a while, it comes up. Preserve rich tradition and culture. இதெல்லாம் மனசுல இருக்கு, அவ்வளவுதான். About this, I am going to talk a little later. At the moment, I am saying this is also one shadow goal, according to me. Then there are some much deeper goals. Punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi janani, jatare shayanam. இதிலேருந்து எப்படி வெளியில வருது? This is a much bigger scope. But that is also a shadow goal. Once in a while, people think about it, but that doesn't, நம்ம பண்ற வியாபாரத்துக்கு அதுக்கு என்ன சம்பந்தம் இருக்காண்டே தெரியல. But that is also another goal. Then who am I? Atma Vidya. என்னோட ஸ்வரூபம் என்ன? சொன்ன கடைசி கொஞ்சம் பெரிய பெரிய விஷயங்கள்லாம் பின்னாடி ஒரு லிஸ்ட் போட்டு வச்சிருக்கேன். இதெல்லாம் கோல். So for this session, attaining goals, first we have to ask which goal are we talking. அப்புறம் let us talk about attaining the goal. Are we worried about active goals, or are we worried about the shadow goals? Now, if you look at these two goals, two sets, one set which I call it as active goal, another set which I call it as shadow goal, they fall into two different compartments. I do not know how many of you are able to see it. All the active goals have something to do with pravritti. இந்த விவகாரத்தில் வரக்கூடிய கோல்ஸ் தான் ஆக்டிவ் கோல்ஸ். ஐ வாண்ட் டு பி ரிச், ஐ வாண்ட் டு மேக் மணி, ஐ வாண்ட் டு பி ஆண்டர்பிரனர், எக்ஸெட்ரா எக்ஸெட்ரா. Whereas the second set of goals, I call it as goals related to nivritti. So we have to be first very clear that when we say goal, you cannot simply just say a few things. We must all understand that our life is one in which there is a pravritti and nivritti. That's why Shankaracharya, when he wrote this Upodghata for Bhagavad Gita, these 10 sentences he wrote a preamble in which he very nicely said, Dvivido Vedoktho Dharmaha Pravritti Lakshano Nivritti Lakshanascha Jagataha Sthiti Karanam Sakshat Praninam Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Hetuhu. We have lost sight of this sentence today. Shankaracharya says Pravritti Lakshana and Nivritti Lakshana are both stated in our Vedic corpus. Rendu important. Jagataha Sthiti Karanam. The stability of this universe critically depends on our ability to pursue both. இன்னைக்கு மாடர்ன் லிவிங்ல ஒரு பெரிய ப்ராப்ளம் என்னன்னா, you can get a 8-digit salary and all diseases with you. I don't know what avail is this progress that we are talking. You cannot just pursue pravritti. People tell me, no sir, I will have a very active professional life. I will retire at the age of 65, 70, 75 one day and then I will become spiritual. You cannot become spiritual by sleeping today night and getting up tomorrow morning. That will not happen. That is a wishful thinking. From a very early age, we should learn that we should have a balance between pravritti dharma and nivritti dharma. Such a person will attain some goals. Some of them will be of the pravritti nature, some of them will be of the nivritti nature. Therefore, first of all, I think we should develop enough clarity when we say goals. Today in modern education, they will only talk about pravritti goals. The nivritti sambandhamana விஷயத்தை பேசுறதே கிடையாது educational systemத்துல. IIM-ல நாங்க அதெல்லாம் சொல்லி கொடுக்கறதே கிடையாது. That's not or IIT-ல we don't say any of these. That life is a life which is incomplete. That a life is a life which will throw surprises when we become old. அதுக்காக தான் Vedic education வேணும். So when you say attain goals through Vedic education, the first clarity we need to develop is we want pravritti dharma and nivritti dharma. So we need an education which should be able to develop both, which should bring us into both the domains. That is something which is not available in a mainstream education today. School-la போய் படிக்கிற விஷயம் கிடையாது. That is where the whole idea of Vedic education comes. And if it is not for this community to protect Veda, no other community can protect Veda. If this community is not doing, it is going to be a very serious problem for us. See, I met some 7-8 years back when I had a darshan of Acharya, I don't want to name. He told me, Mahadevan, do you know one thing? In many Veda Patashalas, in certain parts he was mentioning to me particularly, ஸ்கூலுக்கு போக மாட்டான், SSLC ஃபெயில், ஒன்றுத்துக்குமே பிரச்சனை இல்லாத கொண்டு வந்து நீங்கள் வந்து உட்கார வைக்கிறது. திஸ் இஸ் வாட் யூ ஹவ் டன் டு த வேதிக் எஜுகேஷன் எங்ககிட்ட சொன்னார், ஒரு ஆச்சாரியார் சொன்னார் என்கிட்ட. When the youngsters are not useful for this, anything that we want to do in the contemporary world, you want to send him to the Patashala. Is this the way we want to actually deal with our Vedic corpus? He asked me. Is Vedic education so unintelligent and so, among the list of people who are the least intelligent, we'll send them to the Veda Patashala? In fact, in one Veda Patashala, somewhere near Sringeri I went, that Acharya told me, sir, we have a huge problem. 10th class fail ஆனா இங்க கொண்டு விட்டுறா, ஆத்துல வச்சுக்க முடியல இந்த பையனை, ஒரு 3 வருஷம் ஏதோ சாப்பாடு போட்டு நீங்க ஏதோ பண்ணுவீங்க, அப்புறம் பார்த்துக்கலாம். Then these people also run away after 2-3 years. In Madurai there was a Veda Patashala, Rigveda Patashala, which was going to be started. So I asked him, sir, what is it? He said, sir, get some good students. We don't want money. Get some good students. That is what we have done to Vedic education today. Brahmin community has done it. I want to tell this. ஆச்சாரியால 3 வேளை சந்தியாவந்தனம் பண்ணும்போது தான் சொல்றா, அவனு பெரிய வேத அத்தியனம் பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொன்ன மாதிரியே எனக்கு தெரியல. அவளை அந்த லீஸ்ட் காமன் டினாமினேட்டருக்கு நம்ம எடுத்துன்னு வந்துட்டோம். Because lot of Brahmins are not doing sandhyavandanam. Looks like we don't have time. So what Vedic education are we talking about then? I remember this happened in 1940s, 30s I think. A group of people from Madurai wanted to go and meet Chandrasekhara Bharati Swamigal in Sringeri. And what was the reason? No, the Brahmanathamla குறைஞ்சிட்டு வருது, என்ன பண்ணணும் போய் ஆச்சாரியால்கிட்ட போய் கேட்கணும். And they went. They came back, there was one answer. There was one thing Acharya told. நீங்க வந்திருக்கிற வேறு 3 பேர் சந்தியாவந்தனம் பண்ணுங்க போறோம். Everything will remain intact. அவ்வளவுதான் சொன்னார் அவர். So therefore, this whole idea of Vedic education is something which this community, I want to earnestly request this community to put your full attention into it and understand what is happening. Otherwise, we will write it off in about 80 years, 100 years. அப்புறம் ஏதோ ஒரு வேவ் திருப்பி ஆரம்பிக்கும். In fact, I want to tell, see today the world is moving in a particular way. So therefore, we may have to go and work. I am a professor in IIM Bangalore. Professor Ramasubramanian is here. He is a professor in IIT Bombay. Let us go to different kshetrathila போய் வேலை பார்க்கறத பத்தி நான் ஒண்ணுமே சொல்லல. We need to get educated. If Brahmins are not getting educated in the Vedic corpus, what are we talking about? What is the hope for talking about Vedic education and all that and attaining goals, etc., etc. Now, if somebody properly goes through a Vedic education, what kind of things can happen? Enoda small list of things which I want to share. In fact, the first and the most important thing that can happen is Medha Shakti improve agum. The biggest problem which we are losing in this country is our retention power, our ability to retain things in our thing is coming down because we have stopped doing Veda Adhyanam. நான் சொல்றதெல்லாம் அல்ப பிரயோஜனங்கள், நான் பெரிய பிரயோஜனங்களுக்கெல்லாம் போகவே இல்லை. I am talking about small little things that can even make a huge difference in the place where we work tomorrow in part of the society. If the youngsters have to dramatically improve their Medha Shakti, the only way is they should do Veda Adhyanam. That inherently wires this into them. The Vedic corpus epidin kettena, it dramatically nourishes lateral thinking. It actually nourishes a lot of positive speculation. That's very important. Last session was an innovation. How do you do innovation? We are all told, H.G. Wells came with a time machine or journey to the moon. அதனால தான் நம்ம வந்து ராக்கெட்டை கண்டுபிடிச்சோம், மூன் போனோம்லாம் சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கா. You should go and read Nasadiya Suktam. We should first know what is written. Nasadasi, Tadanim, Sadasi. ஒரு 10 மந்திரத்தில் என்ன சொல்லியிருக்குன்னு போய் பார்க்கணும். இன்ஃபேக்ட் அந்த 10வது மண்டலத்தில் ரிக்வேதத்தில் 129வது சூக்தம், 131வது சூக்தம், புருஷ சூக்தம், ஹிரண்ய கர்ப்ப சூக்தம். There is a lot of positive speculation about origin of the universe. இன்னைக்கு என்னமோ காஸ்மோஜெனி, காஸ்மாலஜி எல்லாம் சொல்ற. There is a lot of speculation. We are actually denying ourselves to this capability to speculate. That is a raw material for innovation. Where will innovation come from? We should groom ourselves to this very nice way of lateral thinking. That will come out of Vedic education. A person who goes through that will develop it, knowing or unknowingly, they will develop that. The greatest advantage of Vedic education is it will provide a balanced view of life. What is missing today totally? இன்னைக்கு இருக்கிற எஜுகேஷன் சிஸ்டத்தோட பிக்கெஸ்ட் ப்ராப்ளம் என்னன்னா, all the kids are told only good things can happen. Only good things can happen. This is a Western idea. Everything only good can happen. Whereas our literature never said that. In fact, Bhagavad Gita ஒரு 25 இடத்துல திருப்பி இந்த திதிக்ஷாவை பத்தி பலவிதமான ஸ்லோகங்கள் இருக்கு. மாத்ரா ஸ்பர்ஷாஸ்து கௌந்தேய சீதோஷ்ண சுக துக்கதாக ஆகமபாயினோ அனித்யாக தாம் திதிக்ஷஸ்வ பாரத. We should empower our youngsters with a very clear understanding the world is a roller coaster life. அவதான் சக்சஸ் அடைய முடியும் in whatever they pursue. Life is a roller coaster ride. What is this whole idea only good things can happen? This is modern education. Whereas if you look at our Vedic corpus, it brings this balanced view of life. It also brings larger purpose of life. See, I've just reminded of one shloka in Mundaka Upanishad, in the Dvitiya Mundaka, Dvitiya chapter, second 2.2. அதில் அழகாக ஒரு மந்திரம் இருக்கு. பரீட்ச லோகான் கர்மச்சிதான் நாஸ்திய கிருத்தோ கிருத்தக நிர்வேதமாயன் தத் விஜானார்த்தம் குருமேவாபி கச்சேத்துன்னு ஒரு ஸ்லோகம் இருக்கு. அந்த பரீட்ச லோகான்ங்கிறதுக்கு சங்கர பாஷ்யம் பார்க்கணும். அவ்வளோ பியூட்டிஃபுல்லாக என்னது வாட் டிட் வி எக்ஸாமின் அபவுட் லைஃப். அந்த பரீட்ச லோகான்ங்கிற அந்த ஒரு பதத்துக்கு மாத்திரம் யூ ஷுட் லுக் அட் த சங்கர பாஷ்யம். ஒரு 10-12 விஷயங்கள் அதில் வரிசையாக வருது. We should have the benefit of reading all that. Why are we not having the benefit of reading all that? Most of us don't even know such things existing in our corpus. ஒரு balanced view of life வேணும்னா Vedic education is very very important. ஒரு positive outlook to life வேணும்னா Vedic education is very very important. And that Vedic education is simply not available by design. It is available only by choice. யாரோ ஒருத்தர் 2 பேர் அம்மா குழந்தைகளுக்கு ஏதோ சொல்லி தரேன், அந்த பக்கத்தாத்தில் ஒரு வாத்தியார் இருக்கார், அவர் அவ்வளோதான். It has been reduced to that lowest common denominator today. Whereas if this society chooses today, because there is a large community of Brahmins here, if this community decides today that this is not the way to go, we need Vedic education. Whether it is, government is having its curriculum, it's all waste of time. We should not actually waste our time waiting that something will happen by the government. All that we should not do. If we feel it is important, this community must take it squarely in their hands and say, what do we do about it? That question we need to ask. In fact, Chandogya Upanishadil அழகா ஒரு இது இருக்கு. நால்பே சுகமஸ்தி பூமாவை சுகம் யத் அல்பம் தத் மர்த்தியம். What kind of thoughts? Na alpe sukamasti. In management, in some of the top management programs, we talk about thinking big. What is this thinking big? Na alpe sukamasti bhumavai sukam is what it is showing. So if only we care to dip into these various components of the Vedic corpus, it will only make life difficult. Even if I go and work in a bank, or I work in a college, I work in a social enterprise, I am working in a temple, it doesn't really matter. This corpus is a precious piece which is being handed down through generations. And for a variety of reasons, in the last 200 years, we are progressively pushing it to the back burner. I think this is a question we need to ask now. If we have to make a resolution, this is a very important issue on which this community must make a resolution. What do we do? Do we do a lip service to Vedic education, which we are doing today? Or do we want to take it serious? Because there are a lot of people who are very active in supporting Vedic education. How? By what is called WhatsApp University. காலம்பரை 7 மணிலேருந்து 8 மணி வரைக்கும் you have to get all these messages, forward it here. Veda is great, this is great, Upanishad says this, and then take from here and then put it here. Postman job. We don't have to do that. Please let us not do that. Let's do something more active. That will not take us anywhere. And that 1 hour if you can spend on something actually in Veda Adhyayana or learning or putting our children and all that, in 50 years we will turn the tide. It will not happen overnight. it needs 50 years. 2 generations from cradle to grave must go through it, for which we have to invest. It's only a discontinuity. In the last 150 years, there is a discontinuity. We can't afford to leave it like that or just do a lip service to this. We have to take very active steps to do that. Because if we don't do it, it is just a matter of, some people tell me, no sir, wherever there is a Vedic education, I will support by funding. Sir, please don't do that. Do it once in a while. Supporting a funding of a Vedic institution is writing a check to, finishing it off in 50 years. We don't need that. That's only one small step. On the other hand, let us take a pratigna. Every child in our family will go through a Vedic education. Let's take that Vedic pratigna. And after that, let them go and work wherever they want to work. I am not even saying that you don't have to. Because the Veda Mata will know how to guide this child, where this child has to be taken and then taken forward. That we have lost out. So therefore, in fact, I actually want to read, as I am coming here, I received a mail from one person, young person. I don't want to read the full thing, an email, but I just want to read a portion, just to tell you why we need to act. So this gentleman says, the Brahmin community in Palakkad is dwindling. I mean, this is what he has written. How much of this we'll have to understand. Many have migrated away, leaving behind a once thriving cultural hub. He says, take my own Gramam, Palakkad for instance. It once had 135 Brahmin households, today only 30 remain. With a mere 10 having a next generation to carry forward our traditions. This trend is reflected across 108 agraharams of Palakkad, and I regret to say that there is no reliable data or statistics available on the current status of the Brahmin community in the region. I mean, there is something more he has written, but I just wanted to tell you that this shows a certain urgency in this matter. இதை நம்ம இப்படியே விட முடியாது. And we have to be very active. We can't be passive. We have to be a little active on this. So therefore, I have only a few thoughts to share with you before I close. See, நம்ம சம்பிரதாயத்தில் பிராமின்ஸுக்கு கர்ப்பாஷ்டகத்திலையோ ஜென்மாஷ்டகத்திலையோ உபநயனம் பண்ணணும்னு இருக்கு. We should not delay it. We should not go out of this. There is a rule. If there is a rule put in a company, how many of us are violating that rule? Why do you want to violate every rule that is laid out for us? It says Janmashta or Garbhashta. 7 வருஷம் 2 மாசத்திலேருந்து 8 வருஷத்துக்குள்ள குழந்தைகளுக்கு நாங்கள் பூணல் போடுவோம். Let us take a resolution. Step 1. That's where Vedic education will start. Otherwise, Vedic education will not start. You may be asking, why am I saying it? Please give 6 years. I am not even saying 12 years. Give 6 years. And the 8 வயசுலேருந்து 14 வயசு. Because in this standard onwards, students have to be a little more competitive. So I will leave all that. 8 வயசுலேருந்து 14 வயசு வரைக்கும் 6 years you put, let us take a vow that every Brahmin family henceforth will say that the Upanayana will be completed before the age of 8. Between the age of 8 and 14, we will do a Vedic education. There are enough people here to draft a very good program of how to spend 6 years, even taking 3 days a week. அழகா பண்ணலாம், ஒன்றும் பெரிய கஷ்டம் இல்லை. That will transform. That will transform the society, transform this community. I think that is all I want to say. I don't want to, throw big items in front of you. I want to be very realistic and simple things. If we do that, mark my word, our Shraddha and Vedic education will increase. The benefits that we will get out of the Vedic education will definitely be there. We will know how to state our goals. We know how to go after the goals and attain what we want to attain. With these few words, I'll stop here. I want to keep it as simple as possible. There are others to say. Thank you.